what does "get behind me, Satan" mean? I've been kind of ruminating on this lately, and I think a big part of it is actually it means like stop living in the past. Let the past go. Let all the bad things that have happened to you in your life be where they are, which is in the past. When you read Job 29, he actually talks about that concept, when he says, as it were in the months past, when God actually watched over me, he feels like God's not watching over him anymore. And that's pretty tough. I've kind of dealt with that recently myself where, I'm kind of struggling with a lot of things in my life right now and things aren't easy. And it's really easy to blame God and say that his blessing isn't on me and that's why I'm struggling. But I think what it is God's leaving this part up to me. Yes, I rely on him for providence and hope and my faith and peace and the rest that Jesus gives us. But at the same time, I think God gives us some things on our plate that we have to handle on our own. And that can be tough sometimes when we've got a lot of things in our past that we're still dealing with. So I think the big part is to look at those things and say, is that serving me? Is thinking about something bad that happened to me serving me? Yes, we need to remember the lessons that we've been taught from our past, but we need to carry that into our present and then bring that into a new and better future. And that's, I think, part of what Jesus was saying, when he was saying that to Peter, get behind me, Satan. He's saying, put that behind you. Stop living in the past. It's not in front of you anymore. If we keep Satan in front of us, that keeps the past in front of us. That keeps our hurt and our shame and our guilt and all these things in front of us when they need to be behind us. That's part of the saving power of the gospel, is that these things just get left behind. We move into that newness of life. We move into that new creation. Part of that new creation is there are some things from the old creation that got to get burned off. But we have to let God do that work in us to burn those things off. And until that happens, we're going to still be dealing with those things from the past that are no longer serving us. They're not healthy for us to live in. One of the metaphors we can look at is, the two thieves on either side of Jesus on the cross. They can represent the past and the future. Both of those steal our energy away from being competent and proficient in the present. And that's where all the power in the Holy Spirit lies, is in the present. That's all we have is now. We don't have before. We don't have what's coming next. We don't know what's coming next. So the best thing we can do is just deal with all the stuff that's behind us, leave it behind us, and then we can start moving forward into the newness of life, because that's where God's blessings really start to fall on us, when we're open to it and we're saying, hey, I'm ready to receive now because I'm open and I'm empty. Jesus wants to fill our cup, but he wants to fill it with love and happiness and peace and all these different blessings that God brings us. And we can't let him do that if our cup is full. And our cup is usually full of, past regrets, future worries, all these things that keep us from being effective in the now. And the more that we can just pull away from those things and focus on what we're doing at this moment in time, that's what's really going to help us be more effective for the kingdom. And that's really going to show the people around us that we're being a good example of how to be in this world, because this is a very tough world. The world wants us to focus on the past. It wants us to focus on the future. It doesn't want us to focus on the now, because that's where growth takes place. That's where defeating the enemy takes place. You can't go back in the past and defeat the enemy in those battles, but you can change your perspective on how you dealt with those situations and say, hey, I did the best of what I could with what I knew at the time. And that's where that wisdom comes from. And even if it takes the time to share with somebody and say, hey, this is the stuff I'm dealing with, and maybe they can help you. I'm sure you see it too. A lot of people like to talk about what happened to them. Oh, this happened to me yesterday. This happened to me last week. And then what do they do when they get to work? They repeat that same story over and over and over to everybody. They tell the same story 8, 9, 10 times because they want that pity party. And they realize that they get validation for their feelings by dwelling in the past. But that's not helping anybody. That's not helping them, and that's not helping the person they share with. And I think it's just like just about any other thing that we deal with, it's a form of self-sabotage. If we're constantly dealing with the past or constantly focused on the future, we're never at a point where we're saying, all right, what can I do now to improve my life and where I'm going? It's like right now, I'm at rock bottom in my life, and I'm moving my way up. God said it's time to move up in life and get out of being on the bottom so you can be more effective for the kingdom and use the talents and abilities that he gave me. So I'm working on all that stuff now, and it's not easy. Nobody's hiring me. I'm interviewing at multiple places, and nobody's calling me back for a job. I've sent out multiple applications, and nobody's calling me. Yeah, it's tough sometimes, but I say, all right, God, you have a plan in all this. I'm going to maintain my patience. I'm just going to keep pushing forward and doing what I need to do. If I start worrying about the future, like, oh, I'm never going to get a job, or worry about the interviews that didn't turn into a job, then I'm losing my focus and my power to figure out what I need to do to find a job now. So yeah, the walk isn't easy sometimes, but the more that we take all that stuff from the past and all of that stuff from the future and just let it go and focus on the now, that's going to be more effective for us. And it's healing. It brings a lot more energy to us. We realize that, hey, maybe the past isn't as important as we think it is. The big momentous occasions can be a learning experience, but if we're constantly dwelling on all these little things, those little obstacles are keeping us from being fully present in the now. And that's where God really wants us to be, is right now in this moment, being as effective as we can. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Really think about get behind me, Satan. That's one of the signs that I actually put on my street ministry, is stop reliving the past, because we tend to do that because it's a comfort zone for us. It's something that we're used to. But that's one of the things that we got to break free from, is getting out of that reliving the past over and over and over again, because it's a form of self-sabotage and it's not doing us any good. So just pray to God to get anything behind you that needs to be behind you, and let's move forward for the kingdom's sake. Thank you.